Amen. Hey.
Hello,
Hi, Moonchild Sanelly.
how are you doing?
How are you?
I'm awesome, thank you. I'm literally in studio, so I was just working in between.
Well,
How
thank
are
you
you
for
doing?
making our interview. We're great. I'm going to give an introduction to you. Not that you need an introduction, but I will say that we couldn't have a better guest for South African National Women's Day. I would say that you're the prime guest for a day like that. Moonchild Sanelly, how do you
Thank
describe
you.
this phenomenon? She is a poet. She's a singer. She's a fashion designer. She's an advocate, independent thinker. Back, we're back, we're back.
Okay, we're back. Oh my gosh.
Can you
I
see
was just
me?
like, the
Okay,
network has
sorry.
been bad today. So I'm trying to
So
move.
going along with the
Yes, I've moved.
introduction, sorry. So she's a businesswoman. She's also a dancer. She's done multiple collaborations. She is a rebel with a cause, and she is here to
Yes,
represent everything. She's here to represent everything you don't understand.
everything you don't understand. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm great.
That's
I'm
a nice
great.
intro.
Thank
Oh
you
my
for
god.
spending some time for us, with us.
I have time to spend for things that are important in life, and you are. So, thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, have you been to Canada yet?
Not yet, but I'm definitely going to come because we just locked in a US agent, and so therefore, because I know I had a conversation last year, but ended up being with. It turned out the guy was a drug addict, so we weren't going to trust any movement with money there. um,
Okay.
the person who was doing that, but I mean, with the agency now, it's helping spread the name further and also capitalize. I mean, also going to the different territories that I haven't been to yet, and just like because I definitely have to go there. I definitely have to come to Canada. I'm going to come to Canada. Let the
And
world open. I see
we
my
want
ring
to be
slots.
part we want to be part of making that happen. So,
That would be amazing.
yes.
That would be so amazing.
So, you know, I wanted to ask you about how you teach your kids the kind of confidence that your mom taught you. I've heard in interviews how your mom said, you are not walking behind the group. You're either going to walk in line with them or in front of them. So,
Yes.
what is that? How do you pass on that message of creating your own lane? How do you pass that on to your kids?
I feel like the difference is because in a space where people my age's parents weren't as open as mine, it was already an advantage of how to not do things the normal way because she put me on stage when everyone else was dating. I was doing rehearsals and home, it was school and rehearsals, and like she occupied my time also with regards to just at least knowing that I've got a channel of expression outside of just education. And by the time, I mean, I've being told by the world that I'm different when it's my normal to just be expressive and be open and vocal. I come from a space where I was allowed to do that. So, in fact, for my children, it's easier to just get whatever it is that they get from me personally as a different person who's also learning that I'm actually different in the world, and that was my norm. So, their norm is a colorful head mother. That's their norm. And they go to school, and every other person's parents have black or blonde hair or whatever color, but not the expression that I am. I still wear my bum panties and thongs on stage, and just because I'm a mother, it doesn't make me change my narrative or what.
Oh, okay. While it's frozen, I'll tell everybody.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Okay, it was frozen. So So I got this. I got what you were saying. So about your daughter, who I know is a musician, also one of your kids. So would you say that you've managed to pass on to them? Does she have a unique musical voice? Would you say?
She hasn't found her voice yet because she literally can write to any beat. And one of the constant things is her knowing that there's a channel of expression outside of just being smart in school. So she knows on holidays she can get to perform the stuff she writes during, if she's going through something that she can't express to anyone else, she can express it in a song. So she doesn't ever feel alone, and she knows she can make money from what she feels as well if she can write it down in a way where people connect and therefore buy into it. So she knows. I mean, I even did this KFC ad, for instance, and she had written a chicken song. I incorporated her lyrics with the lyrics that I was doing for the sync, and I called her, and she said, please don't forget to get me 10%. So I'm like, I'm glad, because my biggest thing is, for as long as they see me and see themselves getting everything they want in the world and they wish for and dream for, and I can make it possible, it's all through my dream and not through surviving. The first lesson was, I'm not stick around in a relationship that I don't feel loved for the kids. That's me. That means I'm not teaching them love. I'm teaching them survival and tolerance of bullshit. Next thing, as an independent woman, if I die today, no one can say to them they can't be an aeroplane if that's their dream, because their entire existence is paid for through me living my dream. And I always sought to never work in a call center. I'd rather be in a corner fighting for my dream than surviving and therefore not having time to do my dream. And now I have to treat it as a hobby. So all those sacrifices, yes, it took longer, but my mission was my children will never have to survive if I had to die. They would know my existence came through dreams, and it was joy and happiness, and therefore they should make theirs come to life and should never take and tolerate bullshit. So I mean, my daughter would say, I know you're very busy. You're not going to be the grandmother who looks after the grandchildren. I'm like, yes, girl, I'm not so going to do that. She's like, well, I'm not going to have babies because I'm not going to have a nanny. I'll be traveling. I'm like, well, if you're making money, you might as well buy sperm. There's artificial insemination, because you're obviously going to be a bad bitch if you're not going to have time for anything. And I don't give a fuck about you getting married or not. I don't care who you get married to. I don't care what sex it is, as long as you're expressing your dreams, however sexually and sexual preferences may be. That's absolutely up to you. I don't care. If you want to be a stripper, you better be the best one. If you want to be if you know, whatever it is that you want to be the best one, and never be ashamed of people's ideas of what dreaming big should be when you dream big in a territory that is taboo to them.
Yes. Okay. So your one of your messages throughout everything, your music, your
Yeah.
interviews, is all about an independent voice, that no one gets to define for you what your voice is going to be, right? You define for you. So I wanted to
Yes.
ask you, I know you're very interested in
Yes.
your music touching everywhere in the world, not just in South Africa. You really want it to expand to the
Yes.
whole world. So I wanted to ask you about language. I know you sing, you don't only sing in English. So my question
Yes.
is, do you think that would hinder you? By the way, we asked the same question to Niniola, and she had a very interesting answer. So I'm going to ask you the same thing. She sings in Yoruba and Pidgin and
Yes.
English. You also, speak different languages in your music. So are you worried people won't understand? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. I don't, because you know what? One thing I'm pretty conscious of is when I write. I write stories all the time and I express myself the way I speak, which is a combination of Xhosa and English. And what I'm always aware of is my hook. So, for instance, with Bashiri, even if you haven't been told yet what the song means, there's a pot of union with me
Amen.
for the first, right?
Oh, she's frozen. If you haven't heard Bashiri, people, you've got to listen to it. I had it in the background. Amen. I'll wait till she's back. Amen. We'll just wait until she's back. Let me see the questions in the meantime. In your questions, everybody. Oh, she left. Okay, she'll come back, I'm sure. Below, you'll see a question mark. You can send in your you can send in your questions. So I see a few comments. Jabril Sise, welcome. DJ Cheba, who we're going to hear in a couple hours play. Right now, we're just waiting on Moonchild to come back in. And here she is. We're just waiting on her to come right back in. Okay, sorry. So you were saying about language. You were saying about...
Yes.
Okay,
So
can you go on?
The one thing I've noticed, because of what my dream was with regards to even my success, I always saw myself as an international artist. So as I grew and I started to pay attention and actually be exposed to the different festivals, I started noticing something I definitely do in all my songs. I always write a hook that is mostly palatable to the world without knowing what it is. If it's Xhosa, everyone can sing to it. If a part of the hook is something that is, like, for instance, amen, hallelujah, everyone knows that. So without me even telling you about the song first, there's a point of us being in unison wherever I come from. And yes, music is its own language, but a part of that joy comes from the fact that the audience can join you. And so being conscious of the audience in your writing every single time starts becoming natural, because you're just very aware of the breakdown of a song with regards to the parts where you need. So if I always visualize my audience. And I always visualize an audience that doesn't understand what I say. And when they do, just a bonus, but I don't limit my song or my writing to a specific audience. I will be conscious of a specific audience, but I always bear in mind the fact that I always do international festivals, and in that space, I want to feel you too, and not you just feel me and trying to figure out me and just enjoying me. I want us to have fun. So it's definitely a part of it's the biggest part of my writing strategy, where I don't just flow, I flow, and I'm conscious of specific parts of my flow where I know I would want a call and response.
Yes. And we feel that. We feel that in the music. So, I hope, I definitely hope as you keep on taking over the world, that we keep hearing that, because I'm saying that we keep hearing the mix of languages, because it's so, it makes such an impact, and we do feel it. So I wanted to ask you, your creative flow. I almost feel like the more at peace you are with yourself, the more your unique gift can flow out naturally, unfiltered. So what kind of practices do you do to maintain yourself in a good mental state, to allow the creativity to flow through you?
I don't know if I practice anything, but I know that I've literally got a constant circle of people. So that comes with specific things that you don't worry about. You don't worry about your being human, being out there and being exploited as a story. You don't worry about. So there's a level of peace that comes with that. But I'll tell you, there's any environment, if there's a volcano erupting and there's a beat happening, I can write a song. I've definitely conditioned myself to not be limited by anything, because a lot of the times before I even traveled, I'd get music from outside and I'd have to make a song before we even make a video. And this is through social media. So,
sorry, what do you mean by that? What's an example of that?
An example of that, like, for instance, when I was doing a song with a Japanese band, I'd never met them, but we made this music, and then the Swedish government paid for the video. It was shot in SA. We still have never met. So because of not having limits, I don't need a bouquet of flowers or a mirror to be able to be comfortable in studio. When I have access to studio, I know that's already a privilege, and therefore I will capitalize. That's why I feel a part of my 13 years, 14th year this year of being in this industry has never been pressured by time, because I always knew my dream had no expiry date, and therefore societal pressures had nothing to do with me. And you're just going to have a privilege of seeing me live my dream in my time when it's time. But for as long as I've got opportunity to be in studio, I am going to give it my all. That's why I feel a part of me not having the pressure was, because I gave it my all, I always thought every single song I made in studio was going to change a part of my life. I never looked at what it didn't, because I always looked at the next one to do that was going to do just that. And therefore, I've never been pressured with time. I was always rolling alone. I ran away from home at 19. I'm 32 now.
Yeah, I
I've
was
never
reading about it.
I've never had to run back, because the one person who instilled this confidence in me was dead and approved me going to study fashion and put me in the arts. And therefore, no one else had a voice or anything to say with me. This is blood. Now, imagine what I even feel about the society in the streets. If my blood has no voice over my decisions and the way I choose to navigate, because I believe in myself. I patented my hair when my team asked me, what the hell is this? And I said, the thing is, I know I'm going to be great, and I'm going to own this hairstyle now. I called my lawyer. I didn't have money. And he said, I believe in your dream because I see your work ethic and I know it's going to happen. So I'm going to patent this hair. And I own my hair now. And I don't even work with those people, but they're looking there on some shit. She knew what she was talking about. Because when you believe in yourself, it's hard for anyone else to break you. Desperation is one of the biggest things that fuck up us artists over, because you sign in desperation. Right now, while I'm making nothing, 100,000 rands a month seems like a lot until I make 100,000 rands a show, but I've signed a 5-year deal with 100,000 as a solution per month. Now, I'm a star, but I'm still living on 100,000. When I'm making 100,000 a show, now I've got 10 shows. It's supposed to be $1 million. But the contract I signed in desperation is fucking me up for the next 5 years. And I can't even afford to get myself out.
Okay, I want to ask you about that. You know, talent, I'm going to say it. I don't think talent is enough necessarily for someone to succeed.
Not enough.
Just walk in New York, you'll see a bunch of talented people, you know, all over the world. So I'm going to ask you, what is the most important aspects of success, meaning music industry, having seed capital, like investment basically into you? Is it the art itself? Is it like what makes, is a work ethic? What is the thing that makes someone pass from being talented and unheard to talented and heard globally?
If you start with the fact that you being talented, no one owes you shit for your talent. And it's not enough. The world owes you absolutely nothing. Number two, I'll tell you, for a normal example, in South Africa, for instance, there's a lot of people that sing. I'll tell you this now. If someone makes it on Idols, they're probably not going to make it in real life, because South African commercial market is not based on belting. It's based on there's a big part of strategy if you're signed. There's a big part of you fighting if you're independent and different, and the labels can't adjust, they want to change, therefore you choose to be on your own. There's a big difference in trusting someone without any knowledge, and doing background and making sure that you still keep track. I'll tell you of, for instance, in Durban. I call Durban, it's a city in Joburg, in South Africa. I call Durban the University of Authenticity, because there's so many original artists. But the saddest thing, if I had to be a lucrative business or label owner, I know where I would go and I would fuck people over, because that space is filled with people with talent who are lazy to do the business. And therefore, for every 50 artists that come to Johannesburg, one might make it. And the one that makes it is probably going to be a pioneer in a sound, because that space is authenticity. But the lack of business ethic and the lack of knowledge and empowering each other for just the music, I mean, not for making money in the music, becomes the problem. That's why they have to run back home, and music just becomes a talent. And you can sit on a case of beer that you can't afford to buy, blaming the world on how they've sold out. But they don't understand, the same way you respect Shakespeare and a sonnet is the same way you should treat your music and your emotion for commercial space, because all people can write 3 pages of an emotion. No one has that attention span. And if you cannot study your room to understand how to capitalize on your room, you can say the system is screwed up all you like, until you are able to be a part of the system and fuck it up your way by studying it and not criticizing it broke. That's the difference. If you can respect Shakespeare and you call every other successful rapper who can put their emotion in 16 lines and touch the whole country, let alone the world, you're still got a long way to go, because a part of navigation with anything that you have is studying, strategizing, and then taking your steps.
I think that people don't realize how much discipline went into all the greats, all the greats, all the classical music, all the artists. They spent countless hours on the training. The talent and the inspiration is just one part of it.
Yeah,
You
that's the
know?
thing. And do you see how crazy it is that the ones that are the life changers, or like change the whole narrative musically in their own spaces, even in the same time, is they've got stories. That's why every one of them can write books. And you know, I remember a time where I listened to Amy, not Amy, Amy's. Okay, I think I said Amy first because everyone's literally saying Amy.
Because of me, they think.
Yes.
I get that.
No, they
Yeah.
literally saying that. So because of I watched Amy's documentary. That's when I knew I need a shrink to be able to deal with whatever past I had. Because a part of the most creative people is being able to express, because they had to find an escape at some point in their lives. If they were escaping abuse from home that they couldn't escape, music was a channel. If they artists, a lot of the times you see the most genius people, you get to know them personally and you don't understand them, because there's a lot of crazy that comes with that genius.
Yes,
Balance
yes.
it out, but there's yin and yang, and therefore if you are in awe of that in real life, that's why it's easier for them to be single or tolerate bullshit, because it's just at least you accept. Because I'm so amazing. I've been told I'm shit so. And it's always like people that say you're the black sheep of the family. And I'm like, actually, you know what I found out when I grew up, that is that black sheep is actually them trying to put a negative word next to what is different and magical. They see the magic and they have to call it something negative for you to not know that when they say black sheep, it's not negative. You don't have to fall in line. You are the change.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Are we back?
So, what does it mean to be a rebel with a cause? So, what does it mean to be a rebel with a cause?
It means that no one can break me. They will be tired of stopping me, because I'll never be tired of being myself. It's not a project. It's who I am.
Okay.
And who I am doesn't allow shit to continue. And that's why who I am can be rejected, because I'm so used to that. That's why I own my hair, because it was ridiculed for at least 10 years until they decided. But I decided on time.
You said earlier today, I was watching your Sony interview, and you said basically no one, how did you put it? No one is loved. The people who get stepped over will be loved. Like, you don't, basically,
Yes.
you don't create, you're not going to create, you can't be used to everybody loving you if you are a trailblazer. You have to have thick skin.
Yes, you end up having a thick skin so much that even in relationships you have a thick skin. Now you have to have a therapist to break down that part on some girl. Okay, cool. Try feel safer here. Because it's so necessary. That's why I was saying with Amy, I realized, and I've seen other stars, other superstars and iconic people from South Africa who have died because of alcohol. Because you know what, in their greatness, their past followed them and they never had time to undo it. And with so much access and all these things, you become vulnerable in the wrong times, and then you become the poison of your own career, because no one is there for your sadness. Everyone is there for your happiness. So I saw that, and I was like, you know what, I've also got a past, and therefore I need a verbal diary. And that's when I started actually, because I'd seen shrinks before. My mom died, they tried, and I'd end up counseling the shrinks. So I ended up just not buying into that. And I always knew it was necessary. I just knew I didn't have the right one. But after watching that, I was like, I'm not dying like this because I'm great. And then I watched Lil Wayne when he talks about how he doesn't listen to other music, not because he's egotistical, but because it just doesn't affect his creative process, and it maintains his originality. And once I heard that, I was like, oh my God, when they say who inspires you, and I'm like, animation and liberation. It's not a person, and they want me to say a person. And I love so many people musically, but there's no one whose album I know fully, because there's a certain part of my creativity that I protect by not listening to any other. but this is not hatred. This is just a part of my maintaining my originality. And I
Yeah.
could never break it down enough until I watched successful, different, amazing people speak about it in their documentaries. And I was like, oh shit, it's normal, you know?
Yes.
So
Yes. I think that's almost part of the answer to how you preserve your creative flow, you know,
yeah,
to let it just be free. Okay, so you know, just in closing, I tell me if you agree with this statement. I mean, there's a lot more success to come out of
yeah.
Moonchild Sanelly, to take over the world. But
Mm.
do you feel that the timing has been right? Like, let me put it this way: when you came to Joburg, it could, because you were in fashion already and hip hop, and I mean, it could have happened to you 2 years in, 1 year into Joburg, but it happened at the right time. I shouldn't say, I want to ask you, did it happen at the right
I
time
totally
when you were
get,
emotional? Sorry.
I totally get, yeah.
Yeah, so that's my question to you, is talk about the timing of this.
The timing of this was, so when I moved to Joburg 2011, I did get an offer, but I always knew that they always thought what the fuck was with my music because they didn't get it and they had never dealt with someone like that before. So when they heard my stuff, especially my future ghetto stuff, like my electronic sound, they always thought David Guetta. So they had to have another David Guetta in SA. And I was like, that's not what I'm doing. I've pictured what I've done before I put it into words, before
Mm,
I experimented with the producer who heard my vision when I recorded on metronome, and then we made the sound. I wasn't listening to electronic musicians. I wasn't exposed to that. So when I moved here, I was offered. I was offered before I even moved here. I was offered a deal when I was in Joburg to
mm,
sign with a pop label, which was big at the time. And I was homeless, but I knew what I needed to hear to trust who was going to push me, because I was never going to be any idea they thought from seeing me, because I already knew I wasn't understood.
mm.
And so I waited. I actually waited. And I signed to a label when I moved to Joburg, which was an independent label that they allowed me to be myself. But guess what the problem was? They didn't know how to sell me. So now I started realizing even my first international shows were in that year, and they were me. They were through me. They went through the label. And I got to a point where I remember doing a proposal for my first time playing South by Southwest 2015. And I said, guys, I need your support because I'm doing this stuff on my own. Like the flights are paid for, the booking is done. I just need spending money there. And they couldn't do it for me. I remember my first year, I probably had 100 rands, but I didn't care about the money and the week. I cared about the fact that I was there. I cared about the fact I had a voice and feet. I was going to go to every single fucking venue and I was going to ask them to have my own shows. I continued doing that every single year for the past 5 years. But in the fourth year, I was given venues because I created a party that was so solid. People around me who had all the money to buy all the food they wanted in the world are not with me right now. I ended up being the top achiever of that agency that was taking people out because I was the only one who fit in every single festival. Some would fit in France, some would fit. I was the only one for the first time who fit everywhere. I was the only one for the first time who was booked every year. I was the first one who actually went there. I came back with a progress report because I would seek for venues and I didn't care about the 100 rands. I would probably come back with that 100 rands because I got food there without using this amount. And that was my current situation was not my problem. My situation and the opportunity that I had was going to plant seeds for me to have bouquets in the world. And I
Mm.
was going to water them over and over and over again. And my hunger, I've always thought that my hunger will never be bigger than my achievements. Because if my hunger is less than my achievements, that means I think I've done it. And I'm so grateful for the fact that I always tell myself it's the beginning of a phase. So I'll be like, okay, cool. So we've got South Africa. Great. That's phase one, stage two. Okay. So now we've got Beyonce. Okay, cool. That's phase two, stage one, which is the ultimate. And then the next one. So I've got like my own plans that I write down. When Beyonce came, I didn't know how she was going to come, but she was written in my 10-year plan. Diplo was written in my 10-year plan. Gorillas were written in my 10-year plan. I've worked with all these people. And I've got another 10-year plan now. And I remember a time when they'd say, what's your ultimate collaboration? And I'd say Beyonce with Conviction. And they'd laugh. And I remember after it happened, where I was at an interview and I said, I'm going to get this other person. And they clapped. They didn't clap. And I said, do you remember when I used to say Beyonce and you didn't clap and now you're clapping the hardest? Don't worry, this is going to happen. It's actually a privilege for you to experience me living my dream. The reason I can keep quiet about these big things before the non-disclosure is because I'm satisfied with the fact that I'm living everything I wrote down in my dreams. And therefore, my words are power. I don't try. I do or I don't. I don't use the word try. You do or you don't. There's certain things I'm pretty conscious of in my vocabulary. I'm pretty conscious of the fact that my words are power. And
Yes.
I don't say the things that will limit my power. And you can think it's deep or whatever. I don't care because I live it.
Yes,
And that's
yes, yes, yes. You
your
know,
experience,
yeah.
me live it, because I believe in words are power and my words being power. And therefore, if my words are power, that means I need to use them carefully by prophesizing success in my life and having specific destinations like Beyonce, Lady Gaga, Gorillas, Diplo, all those specific things. You
Yes,
should be scared of your dreams.
yes. And there's this idea that the world was even created with the power of words. Words actually create. They have creation power. So my last question, have you considered because I know writing is in your DNA. How about a book?
Oh my God. I'm definitely writing books because
Yeah.
I've got stories for days from before I ran away from home where the biggest criminal hunters come to my house and I'm the young kid who knows the secrets of the drug dealer in the house. I know stories of a lot. Like my family was a mafia space where I was the most protected, but I discovered things into me running away and realizing I'm just like my mother, and also that thing like I'm literally, it's.
She froze. What an amazing thinker, person, musician. Wow. Hopefully we'll get her back on.
And I have to share it. I'm a book walking.
Moonchild Sanelly. Yeah, you're a book walking. You're a book walking. And it's not just your stories. It's also the clarity of your voice. What it does is it doesn't make people want to be like you. It makes people want to be like them. Do you know what I mean?
And that's, yeah, I love hearing that. Thank you. Because I don't want people to be like me. I want people to own who they are as themselves because there's only one you. And when people reject you, let them reject
Yes.
you for you rather than love you for who you're still finding or you don't know you think they love. Because you will never question that. Can you imagine how many people are playing a character, they're successful in it, and they stressed every single time they sleep with because of what is this person I'm playing supposed to do tomorrow? But if it was naturally you will never get tired. That's why it's like, when are you no, I'm not going anywhere because part of my existence is what I stand for. And I fortunately have a channel to do that. And if I don't, I will go to Google and look how to bomb for my channel to exist because I'm not here to take no for an answer. I always say, ask for things. The worst that could happen is no. The best that could happen is yes, but no will never kill you and yes will grow you. So,
amen to that. I really hope we meet in person. You're fantastic. Thank you for your music and your thoughts. I wish you just the most success to the moon and beyond.
yes, thank you so much for having me.
Mwah.
Mwah. Cheers,
All the
babe.
best.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys, how amazing is she? How amazing. she's just amazing. Okay, I don't know what time it is. What time is it, people? We have coming up, we have Chris Beats, the drummer boy from Nigeria. We're so excited to have him play on the show. We start our jam session right now. Follow us, to all our new followers from South Africa and beyond. Follow us at Icaro Sound, this account. The party continues with Chris Beats, the drummer boy. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here for the interview, and we'll see you right away.